When one thinks of the average NCAA student adult, it never really occurs to you that these overhyped up individuals are still young adults. And while they are given scholarships, you don't take into account that they don't really cover the full price of the college. The schoolwork combined with the sports that they're taking doesn't really leave them with a lot of time to get a job. So this in turn causes some of these students to end up actually considering accepting improper benefits. And there are many different examples of this throughout all different college sports. This has actually caused NCAA to consider a $2,000 stipend for all student athletes. Now let's look at some facts. As long as some student athletes aren't even paid that $2,000 stipend, it's just going to open up the door for them to consider accepting these improper benefits. There are only 4 sports that actually give out full scholarships that cover the full cost of school, and those 4 sports are football, men and women's basketball, and women's volleyball. And even though that actually covers the cost of school, it doesn't leave them with much other money, and as a human, they need money to survive. This forces these young, gullible teenagers to end up struggling, where they have to accept these benefits because they have no other way to make the means. Now, it's time to look at some previous scandals. First, we have the SMU death penalty, which was a case from the 1980s where SMU football players had been accepting benefits from as far back as the 70s. They weren't really caught until the 80s, though. In 1986, they ended up finding out that over 6 players had accepted almost $100,000 worth of benefits, which ended up with a year of no football. They had no home football games for a year. They ended up postseason bans, all kinds of other things happened to them just because the students ended up taking money, which is a recurring theme in all of these cases. The next case we have is Michigan basketball in the 90s as well. In the 90s, where there's Chris Webber and a few of the other players ended up accepting over $500,000, and they also ended up with probation. They ended up having to forfeit some of their games, and they were disassociated from the players for a 10-year period. And then the third and final case was Reggie Bush at USC whenever he was caught in 2005 for accepting improper benefits of over $250,000. They took his Heisman from him, canceled the 2005 year, removed the 2005 bowl game from them, and they were banned from bowls for 2010 and 2011. And so every case you see that each case ends up just harming the schools more than it harms the individuals or the boosters who are the ones that are responsible for giving them the money. So, in conclusion, the students have no way to support themselves. As long as they're not paid, they're not going to be able to support themselves. They don't have the time to get a job. And while they should be held accountable, it's not their fault. The system has to be changed before you can do anything about it, because they don't have the money, they don't have the time, and as long as the system stays the way it is, it's just going to stay the same. And in the end, it's only going to end up hurting the schools in the long run. So, there you go.